Welcome back to Living Healthy. My guest expert today is Daniela Pirelli of Powerfind Industries. Now, Daniela, we're going to have a little fun here and trying to make sense of what compression hosiery is. Can you give us a little update on things there?
Yeah, sure. Basically, I mean, compression therapy today is sort of referred to as the gold standard for treating venous disorders and venous disease. So if I can put it in the simplest of terms, think of it as the stocking or the bandage applied to the outside of the leg. This outside pressure on the veins will reduce the internal pressure. So it causes the valves to sort of come together and help that return transport of blood back to your heart. And that's basically what we're trying to achieve. Improve circulation and improve stability.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. So yeah, when somebody says compression therapy, it really comes down to just giving that body that extra boost as far as pressure.
Correct.
Against gravity here.
But if I may, the most important thing for people who are looking for to purchase compression stockings is that it must be a graduated compression stocking. Mm-hmm. This is what makes it a medical grade. So tighter at the ankle and then sort of, decreasing up the leg.
It's a good question because oftentimes people say, oh, can I just go to the drugstore and pick up a pair of compression stockings? Yeah. There's quite a difference between a customized compression stocking compared to something off the shelf. So, as you say, what are those major differences that you can see?
Well, in the medical grade, you're usually looking at a compression of greater than what we refer to in the industry as 20 millimeters of mercury and above.
Right.
You're usually fitted by an expert who knows how to fit stockings and can dispense stockings.
Right.
This is why they're prescribed by a physician in Canada, and this is why most third-party insurance companies will pick up a portion of the coverage.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good. So if I look at, I've got my own compression stockings on here today, and it's something that I find them invaluable, especially with sports and with travel, or if I'm seated or standing for any length of time. Now, the way they fit, it's quite awesome. If you can just describe it, you've got some samples here.
Yeah.
Give us a description as to what makes these so unique. These are the Powerfind.
This is a Powerfind stocking that you can see. I always refer to, I guess, one of the biggest misconceptions with stockings is that, you only need to wear them when the time exhibits, when you actually have a venous disease.
Right.
But I always tell people to try to get into them a little bit more prophylactically, so to keep a disease state from progressing or even preventing one.
That's right.
As you can see, another misconception is that they're ugly, that this is something your grandmother or your mother wore. But as you can see, with our technology and microfibers and materials such as this one, the pink, the purple, it's really come a long way.
Yeah, it's really come a long way. As you say, it's much more breathable.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable to wear, and the pressure is exactly in the places where we need them, and not pressurized where we don't.
That's right.
And I certainly find both with the dress compression stockings that I wear and with the sport ones. I love the material again with the sport ones. They breathe very, very well. And looking at that, how important would you say compression stockings can be for performance enhancement?
Well, it's a really good question, Phil, because there's been such a big buzz with compression and athletes lately. And you know that Powerfind was a friend of the games.
Right.
So I can only comment on all the feedback I got in 2010 in Vancouver at the games from the athletes. Typically, when wearing compression during a sport, the biggest feedback and the biggest factor is that it reduces things like muscle soreness, swollen feet, muscle regeneration, all of this increasing circulation for athletes, whether they're amateur sports or competitive sports. Yeah. So they feel better, they feel more stability, they feel more oxygen. The microfiber that you feel in most of the stockings allows for greater temperature control, a greater moisture regulation. So anything that, if it feels good, why not?
Right. Yeah, it's quite incredible, and I start to see it more and more when watching, especially in professional sports.
Absolutely.
I see it in basketball players that it looks like they're going back to the 70s in many ways with the sleeves and the longer socks again. I thought, wow, here we go. It's fashion all over again.
It's true.
And what they are compression stockings that the athletes are wearing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing feedback. I can say personally myself, in playing soccer and sports where there's a lot of running and cutting, the compression stocks make such a huge difference. It's a huge difference for stability, and you want to progress safely in a sport. So this is exactly what it does overall. It enhances that endurance and that performance. Wow, that's really amazing. So if we look at typical indications, if somebody is watching the show today and think, well, would this be right for me? What kind of indications would you usually think of when you think of compression therapy? What would people look for?
It's a good question because we get that all the time out in the field, and even physicians will ask us, what indication will I see that will need me to prescribe a compression stocking?
Right.
And I can really say that typically it ranges, but the most common would be anything from tired, achy, swollen legs to pregnancy, and we all know why. I mean, you get an extra blood volume, it's sluggish, it can lead to blood clots. So any lady during any stage of her pregnancy can wear compression stockings. You mentioned traveling earlier. Mm-hmm. Very alarming, very overlooked. You're in these cramped quarters, you're dehydrated, your mobility is limited. And most people never wear compression stockings on long flights. So if you're taking a long flight, I encourage you to ask your doctor about wearing compression stockings. And then it ranges, if you're on your feet all day, if you're standing or you're sitting, your blood volume is compromised. That's what the compression stockings do. They help aid despite what you're doing.
So they're like an anti-gravity type of situation. This is great. And there are so many different types of models now. It's not like our grandparents' generation where typically the first thing I thought of with compression stockings was, isn't that something that great-grandparents would be wearing as far as being as compromised? But really, as you say, it's a lot of looking at it from a preventive standpoint now that if we can wear these compression stockings and socks to prevent a lot of problems from developing to begin with, it can make a huge difference as far as keeping people healthy as compared to waiting for everything to fall apart.
That's exactly the whole point. We try to get people in prophylactically, to get them in earlier. It's generally it's genetic, so it's familial. So if someone in your family or you remember somebody having bad veins, chances are you might have hit that genetic jackpot and you may suffer from the same fate. And you may want to get into compression earlier, whether it be comfort, prevention, treatment, sports. In my opinion, I believe that compression hosiery really is the answer. With all the materials and like you said, it's come a long way from the grandmother stocking. Excellent. I think it's really the answer and the only mode of method.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Daniela.
Well, thank you.
It's been invaluable for me and any of my patients.
Thank you.
We'll be back after the break. Stay tuned.